It's time for another book and yarn box. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from The Cozy Crow, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And welcome to today's vlog, where we are going to be starting on this book box from Yarnaceous Fibers. Maggie of Yarnaceous Fibers does a book box every other month, and I'm a little bit behind. So this is actually the June box, but I love that I don't have to open this right away. I can open it when I have the time to, and when my hold comes in from the library. So I actually have an audiobook that is ready to go for this book box. Maggie announces which book inspired the package, so you can kind of prepare, go to Libby, go to Overdrive, go to your library, things like that, or purchase the book if you want to. You've got time to do that, which I really like because that's more accessible in general. So I have the audiobook ready to go, and I'm going on a drive today. And so I thought today would be a great day to start this box and get right into the book. I am currently sitting on my yoga ball because I am 34 weeks pregnant. So if you see me moving around a little bit, that's why. And I'm still trying to figure out my setup in this office and exactly how I want to film. So let me know if you like this type of a view. I really don't know. I like having my desk handy so that I can lay everything out and then show you what's in the box before I unwrap all the packages. I'm still figuring it out. So let me know what you think. If you're not familiar with a book and yarn box like Maggie of Yarnaceous Fibers does, in here there is yarn, there are goodies that are all inspired by the book at hand. And since it's not a mystery, you already know what book has inspired it. She has labeled all the different packages with page numbers so that as you get to that page in the book, you open the corresponding package and see kind of how it relates. It's just like a really fun way to gamify reading almost, kind of like a countdown calendar, and you just get little goodies that are from small businesses you might not otherwise know to support. It's a really fun thematic package for yarn and book lovers. So first, let's open up the package, see if there's anything that is not specific to a page that's already like loose in the box. And then we'll also organize the envelopes in the order of what page number they're on so that I know what I get to open first when I get to that. All right, let's open this up and take a look. I ordered the variegated box, and I ordered, in addition to that variegated box, the tonal extra skein that I could order, which I like that I had that option. So I tried to get more than just the box if there's options. So I can just show you kind of what is available. And I'm really liking this color. I'm assuming that's what this is. Oh, so pretty. Let's unwrap it. Oh, I love this color. I'm all for like a sea foamy green. There's a little bit of almost like gray undertone to it. So pretty. This is in Maggie's Bronto DK base, her 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon in the color Sea Spray. I love this color. I don't know if I'll be able to use this in conjunction with the pattern included in this box, but we'll see. And I got, of course, the cute sticker. Oh, and a bookmark. So this box is inspired by the Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green. My understanding is that it is a World War II historical fiction about a book club that some women put together, but that's all I vaguely know about it. So I'm excited to dive in. Let me organize these envelopes and we can see what pages we can open packages on. Okay, we've got our packages organized. We've got early on chapter 1, page 19, we've got a little package, maybe stitch markers or something. I like how some of these goodies will be yarny themed and some of them will not be. Then we've got chapter 10, page 79. That one's heavier for sure. It also feels like maybe there's a piece of the pattern in there. Got chapter 14, page 118. For sure there's yarn in that one. I can feel it. Chapter 16, page 141. Chapter 21, page 193. And chapter 29, page 263. So there's definitely a variety in this box. I love that throughout the book you get to open different envelopes. I like how there's a little phrase on the sticker so you kind of know what inspired Maggie to choose what is in that package. I just think that Maggie does a really good job on these book boxes, and I have not only read some of my favorite books from these boxes, but I always enjoy the process of opening these boxes and reading the book, whether or not it's a book I already have on my radar. So I've never heard of this book before, so I'm really interested to see what it's like. Let me know if you have read this book before, if you're a fan of historical fiction. I don't read a ton of it, and I prefer to read not World War II era historical fiction because I feel like World War II era historical fiction is a little bit overdone sometimes. So I'm really hoping that this book will feel original and unique from that aspect. But in general, I like historical fiction. I like to learn a little bit while I'm reading and to have my perspectives opened up, and historical fiction does that. Like I said, I'm going on a little bit of a drive today, gonna see my midwife, and so I'm gonna be starting this book as an audiobook in the car. So I should get through it pretty quickly, which is exciting. That means I get to open packages pretty quickly. For sure, I think we'll get to chapter 1, page 19, the very first package, while I'm on my drive. But maybe, I don't think I'll get quite to the second package yet, but I'll get pretty close. So I think I'll still get to that package today. So I'm gonna store everything back in this box so I don't lose track of it. And we are gonna get ready to go on my errands and get started on this audiobook.
Recorded Books presents The Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green, narrated by Leah Horowitz. Chapter 1.
So I made a lot more progress on my reading than I thought I would. So I am about 35% of the way into this book already, which is exciting. So I have some things to talk to you about, and we have some packages to open. So first, we'll do a little bit of intro about this book. This book takes place just after Pearl Harbor, in a very small town in Maine, basically, is where this book takes place. And you're following a handful of women who are part of this book club. So Avis feels like the main character, but there are 3 other women. So Avis is the head librarian of this tiny community library. She took up the position after her brother, who was the head librarian, went off to war. Her employer is Louise, one of the other point of views in this book. And Louise is this wealthy woman who owns this building and has been in charge of this library, though she has threatened to close it and use that building for the war effort. Another character that you meet is Ginny, who seems like a friend of Avis's, an acquaintance. I'm not really sure how she got roped into the book club in the first place, but she is a young woman who is trying to find her place in the world. And then our final perspective is Martina, who is an Italian immigrant who has lived in the US for a very long time, but is definitely facing some prejudice and persecution in her day-to-day life. She is working the swing shift at a factory and aiding the war effort in that way. She is a mother, she has 2 kids, and she's trying to, keep her kids out of trouble, provide for her family, and escape her ex-husband because he was emotionally abusive to them. And so I think that's what led her to this small town and how she first found out about the book club. So that's kind of the basis of the story. I do feel like it was a little hard to get into the characters. It was hard to understand who we were talking about, just the way that it jumped perspectives at the very beginning of the book. But now I feel really good about understanding who all the different characters are, and I'm interested to see more about what happens. Let's open a package, and then I'll talk more about what the book club is. So this is from chapter 1, page 19. She closed her eyes, longing to kneel by the books a little longer. I think this is referring to Avis in her role. She was trying to pull books that had been requested by different people, and she was, taking a moment to look at what was there, I think. Yep, stitch markers, cute. Oh my gosh, these are adorable. So these are Yarnaceous Fiber branded. There's like a little knapsack and a little fountain pen, a cup of tea, a singular book, and a stack of books. These are really cute. I'm a big fan. Definitely that vintagey 1940s feel. Love that. So this Blackout Book Club, if you're not aware, during this time period, there were a lot of places that instituted these blackouts so that hopefully German bombers would not see in the dark where people were living, because if there was lots of light, they would have something to attack. They would know for sure that they could put bombs there and do some damage. And so at nighttime, they would put up blackout curtains, turn off unnecessary electronics, make sure their headlights were out or covered, things like that. And so the Blackout Book Club is a little bit of a ruse. So Avis was worried because Louise threatened to close the library, and Avis is doing this for her brother. Her brother asked her to take his place while he was off at war. And so this is kind of her way to keep up hope that he will return and he will have his head librarian job back. So she just impulsively, when Louise said she was going to close the library, Avis decided, we've got this book club so that we can encourage people to do indoor activities at night, during the blackouts, like reading and things like that. So this was Avis's way of keeping her library job by making Louise wait a few months to actually close the library. Just because Louise was really a fan of the blackouts and of, doing your due diligence for the war effort, things like that. And so Avis thought she could pull at her heartstrings a little bit by offering the book club to support the blackouts. And so Avis came up with this idea kind of on the spot and had to start inviting people to the book club and participate. She'll read women's magazines and things like that, learning how to be a good housemaker, etc., etc. But she's not really a reader, and so she's a little bit out of her depth, but she made a commitment to have this job and keep the library safe for her brother. And so she's trying to follow through with that. So that's where the idea of this Blackout Book Club came about, where people will meet during the day, but at nighttime, they can read the book club choices with minimal lights on and blackout curtains up and things like that. These 4 women, and then they start to bring in other secondary characters in the book, start to attend this book club meeting and get to read a variety of books and learn a little bit more about each other. So with that bit of context, let's open the next package. This is chapter 10, page 79. Russell held a candle aloft as he shut the door behind himself. So this was during the midst of an air raid drill, and Russell is Avis's husband. They've only been married for like a year and a half. It's a very 1940s marriage. It bothers me a little bit to read about how they interact with each other, but they're also newlyweds and, trying to figure it out, I guess. And Russell is upset that he cannot go and fight in the war because of some health issues. And Avis is having a hard time supporting him and kind of trying to fix the issue at hand. Let's see. Oh, yep, we got the pattern. Book club mitts and bandana. Oh, fun. And then, there's a couple things in here, actually. This is a candle, Fly Paper Products Book Club scented, which is cinnamon, leather, and amber. Nice and cozy. And then there's also a pen that got thrown in here. It says, I love books. Okay, so this part of the pattern is just the intro, supplies, the abbreviations. Looks like we're going to be doing some increases, decreases, bobbles. Bobbles are fun, but nothing crazy as far as the stitches that we're doing. So it should not be a super difficult pattern. It does say that 1 skein of Maggie's yarn can make the medium or small mitts and the bandana. So I think I should make both. Should I use the tonal? I really like the tonal color. I might save it for something else. I guess we'll wait and see what the variegated color is, and then maybe I can pick which one I want to cast on. This box is a little bit front loaded because I can also open a 3rd package, which I think might have the variegated yarn and the actual start of the pattern. This is for chapter 14, page 118. Joe, will you and Rosa bring these buckets back to the library? So at this point in the book, the German U-boats feel really, really close at hand. Avis finds a German life jacket on the beach when they're collecting some sand that can be used to help put out any fires in case of any incendiary bombs. She finds this, doesn't want to scare the kids, sends them away on their errand while she can go and report what she has found. Oh, it looks like there's 2 pieces of the pattern. That makes sense. There's a bandana and there are mitts. I don't know why I was confused about that. We've got a right mitt pattern. We've got a bandana pattern. So maybe the left mitt pattern is still to come. But Yeah, probably, what do I want to start? I really want mitts, like more than a bandana. Ooh, this variegated color is so pretty. This is, again, the Bronto DK base in the color Back to the Library. Oh, that's really nice. It kind of reminds me of like River Rocks. Really pretty. Ooh, I like both these colors. They don't necessarily go well together, but I could see how they have a similar inspiration and would be maybe in like the same collection together, but they don't necessarily pull tones from the other one. That's really cute. Okay, now I have to actually make decisions. Which do I cast on first? The right mitt or the bandana? Which yarn do I use? Decisions. Since this box is from months ago, maybe I will post on my stories on Instagram and see what the people think. I think I'm leaning towards using the variegated for this box and saving the tonal for later because I don't have a lot of tonals. And so I could definitely put that to good use in other projects, whereas I don't necessarily have a plan for a variegated DK skein of yarn. And so it'd be really good to use it up. Probably I should start on the bandana because I can definitely finish that, knock it out, and then switch to the mitts. But those are the packages that we can open up at this point. Like I said, we are about a third of the way through the book, and we'll have to keep reading and discovering more about this book club and these women and how they grow closer to one another. This isn't necessarily a super original story in those character arcs and the trajectory of where the characters are going. And so I think it's going to be a nice, cozy read. I'm enjoying it. I am not super connected with these characters. Avis is a bit bothersome. Like, I don't really relate to her at all in her desire to be the perfect housewife. I think in general, the theme of this book would be to transcend differences and find similarities even when you are different types of people. So hopefully I can also relate to these characters a little bit more as I continue to read. Still trying to figure out where I can wind yarn. So we'll see if this setup works. Things feel a little bit crunched, but that might be how it goes. I did decide on using the variegated, so we'll wind it up and maybe cast on tonight. Really cool. I'm loving these like orangey brown speckles. Okay, and looking at the patterns, I think what I'm gonna do is cast on the bandana, and then I can use that as my gauge swatch because the bandana does not need to be a specific size, but the mitts will have to fit a specific size in order to be usable as a finished object. So I'm gonna do the bandana, but I was reading it. US size 4. I don't know if I have one available, but the big problem is I have to do 150 total rows of I-cord. I don't know if I'm going to do that tonight, but I do have a cordsmith. This is a tool to help you make an I-cord, and it calls for a 3-stitch I-cord. I have a 3-needle cordsmith. So I'm still getting the hang of this. I've gotten to the point where I can make a chain of I-cord or like an I-cord cord, but I have a hard time making it look nice at the beginning and the end of doing so. So maybe I'll practice this and play with it tonight because I think this will be the way to go to get my I-cord done without making me go totally crazy. Hopefully this is the worst part of this entire project and we can get it over with. All right, I thought it might be helpful to share how I'm using this cordsmith. There's lots of tutorials, and I think a lot of it is just practice because you can even see my I-cord looks pretty good, but I definitely have a couple rows where things went awry, or maybe I dropped my stitches and had to pick things up again. But honestly, it looks pretty good overall, and I feel like it looks more consistent than it would have if I had done the I-cord by hand. So we're gonna go with it. I have about maybe 20 rows left, so we'll show you. These all have like latch hooks on them. I don't know how well you can see that. Make sure that they're open and that your cord is underneath your latch hooks, you yarn over with your working yarn and pull through. It'll close the latch hooks and pull new loops through. Make sure that your cord is below the latch hooks again. Yarn over, pull through. Try not to pull everything too tight. But yeah, this is way faster than doing an I-cord by hand. I think it looks cleaner as well. It took a little getting used to, for sure, practice-wise. And while you can cast on directly on this cordsmith, I don't like how that looks. So I just started an I-cord with a needle, and then I moved those 3 stitches onto here, and I like how the beginning of this looks better, but that's my personal preference. So I'm gonna finish this, make sure to count my rows, and then bind off as it says in the book club bandana pattern, and then we can hopefully get moving on to the next part of this pattern. Wow, I made it look so easy when I was talking. Maybe I should just talk while I do this. This is definitely more accessible as well, movement-wise. I-cord is complete, so let's continue this pattern. All right, so I am 1 repeat in. So not super far, but I love how this variegated is working up. It's so pretty. I did modify the pattern. It does say like how long to leave your I-cord unworked into, and I'm assuming this is to tie the bandana, but the numbers just like did not make sense with how many stitches I was supposed to pick up and knit along the I-cord versus how many to leave undone. So I just centered the stitches I was supposed to pick up. So I have a little bit longer of an I-cord than what the pattern calls for, but that's what made sense in my brain. So that's what I did. There are these cute little baubles. Not too hard to do, but mostly this is stockinette, which is nice and easy. So I might take this in the car with me. We have a work party to go to, so there'll be a little bit of driving. So I think I'll get some work done on this. So I need to continue doing this repeat with occasional decreases until I get to, I think 50 stitches total is what it is. And then we'll move on to the next part of the pattern. This should not be too hard to do. A nice easy project, even one I could work on while I'm listening to an audiobook or while I'm watching TV. So I think this will get done pretty quick, which is great. I figured now was a great time to open the next package. This is chapter 16, page 141. She'd been using it as a bookmark, her ending page now lost. At this point in the story, you're getting more details about Martina and her husband that left them. He has come back. Dun, dun, dun. He pulled her bookmark out of her book, which was very rude. He was like pulling a receipt or like an envelope out to write a note on. Anyway, but still rude. Very careless, I will say, is the overall vibe we get from him. So let's find out what's in this package. Oh, cool. What are these called? Like a thumb saver for books? If you haven't seen this before, it looks like it's made out of resin maybe. Pretty colors. So you put your thumb in here and then you can hold open a book without straining your thumb because these wings will keep your pages open for you. So yeah, less work for your thumb. Like you don't have to push as hard to keep your pages open if you're holding it open with one hand. And these colors match the cover of the book, which is so fun. That'll be fun to try out. Too bad I'm doing an audiobook and not a physical book, so I can't try it out for this book in particular. So we are like halfway through the book at this point. This is very much a character-focused book with a little underlying plot, and each of these 4 main characters have something that they are dealing with, coming to terms with, something that they're sacrificing or they're trying to work through during this difficult period of time. I just keep thinking about how they are in small town Maine, coastal Maine, which has my heart. That's where my grandparents are from. The struggles that the Americans faced in World War II just don't hold up at all in comparison to what Europeans faced at that time. And so it's just really interesting to think about how that's still valid for Americans to have so much fear and uncertainty during this time, even when Europeans had it much, much worse and had much more personal struggles with the war. So it's just kind of interesting to think about, not to invalidate what the Americans went through, because that is a valid experience, of collective trauma World War II was. And so that's just something that I'd not ever thought about before when reading World War II historical fiction, and just something that came to mind for me, because they all in this book are struggling and trying to make do with what they have, trying to support the war effort, things like that. I'm gonna keep working on this bandana and work on this audiobook. I don't have super long left. This isn't a very long audiobook. It's about a 12-hour audiobook. I listen at 2 times speed. So we only have a few more hours technically left of listening. We'll see how far we get. I am hoping that I can open at least one more package today. Yay, that would be so nice. I only have 2 packages left. Chapter 21 and chapter 29. And then I don't know how many pages are left in the book after chapter 29. Usually in my listening experience, an hour in an audiobook at regular speed is about 30 pages in the book itself. So if it's a 12-hour audiobook, it's probably about 360 pages, give or take. And it totally depends on the narrator and how fast they speak and things like that. But just as a rough estimate, I expect there to be a couple hours of listening after I open the last package even. But we'll definitely get to chapter 21 this evening, and hopefully get to chapter 29 maybe tomorrow, and I can show you more progress on my bandana. This is actually really fun. I'm not necessarily a huge bandana wearer, but I could totally see my daughter wearing it just for funsies because she's exploring different stylistic things. But I think this will be really fun to knit and will give me a good handle on the stitch pattern and style of this before I move on to the mitts. I clean up nicely. Let's open the next package. That's not the right package. Let's open the next package. Chapter 21, page 193, Bet You'd Grow Roses and Drink Tea. I wouldn't be surprised if this is tea of some sort. What's happening right now? Alfred, rude. So like I said, the story's continuing on. We're seeing some character development. Things are changing. Louise seems less prickly. Ginny seems more uncertain about her next steps, whether she should stay in Derby, whether she should go back home to Long Island, Maine, which is off the coast of Maine and currently occupied by the US Navy. Avis is not quite sure about her husband, if he is faithful, while Martina is very sure about her husband, but not really sure how to navigate him hanging around and making the same promises he always has. So kind of interesting to see as we are building up to the climax of each of these different characters' lives, kind of what's going to happen next. I will say that I figured out how Ginny got roped into all this. So because the US Navy was occupying her hometown on this island, she moved inland to Derby, and she currently works at the same factory that Martina works at. So that's how she found out about the book club in the first place. But let's open this package. Pattern. This should be the left mitt. Yep, left mitt and finishing off. So we have all the pattern pieces. A tea strainer, a clip-on tea strainer with a long handle. So kind of like rests on your mug like that. And the Library Malty Black Tea by August. Uncommon tea. It says it tastes like buttered toast, brown bread, almond. Feels like morning in the library. That sounds nice and cozy. I do not drink black tea, so I'll be gifting this to someone at work, but I think I can find a different tea in my cupboard that also gives me cozy vibes, and I can try out this strainer. Interesting. Yeah, I don't have a strainer that's shaped like this. It's just like a little ladle cup thing, so that'll be interesting to try it out. And purple is one of my favorite colors, so we will definitely enjoy that. Time to finish off this book and work on this bandana and get ready to open the last package probably tomorrow. So it's exciting. We're kind of winding down, but I'm gonna finish both the bandana and these mitts before I finish off this vlog. So you'll definitely see more clips of me working on that. Hello. I wanted to show you that I finished the bandana early this morning. This worked up so fast. It was actually really fun and really intuitive to work on. Ta-da! It definitely needs a good block, but those are the edges with the bobbles. For the first half, we did decreases at a certain rate, and then for the second half, we did them at a different rate than for the first half. And so it definitely sped up the process a lot. Like I said, I need to block this. I need to weave in my couple ends, take off my stitch markers, but it's all done. And I'm excited to get started on the mitten, so I'm going to cast on. I've not quite made it far enough in the book to open the last package, but I'm getting close. So maybe I'll open it later on this evening. We'll see. But we've had a lot of like family stuff, and I had like my work event last night, so I just haven't had a chance to finish listening to it, but I'm getting close. Here is my yarn situation, and according to the pattern, Maggie said I should be able to get a pair of medium mitts in this. We'll see how much yarn I have left over after all that's said and done, but let's cast on one of the mittens. We'll just see which one I pick up first, I guess, out of all these pattern pages. Right mitt. There we go. I've got my trusty Post-it note to help me like follow along on which row I'm doing, or which round, I guess, for mitts. So this will be easy to get started. I'll do a little bit more listening, and then when I get a chance, I will open this last package from the box. But we're gonna finish these mitts really soon, I think. Considering how quickly the bandana knit up, I think these mitts are gonna go by really fast too. Okay, so I had forgotten to check my gauge on this, and that's partly why I did this one first. My gauge was slightly big, just like one stitch too big per the 4 inches, so that shouldn't be a problem. I think it's close enough. I'm just gonna make the adult medium. All right, I made some really good progress on my mitt. This is just the right mitt. This is a little bit long, but I just followed the pattern. We'll see. I'm probably really close to finishing this, to be honest. We had a meeting with my doula and got a lot of progress done. I can now open the last package. Chapter 29, page 263. Avis handed a new notebook to me. It's shoved in there. I can't make it. I have book club. Oh, what a cute sticker. Cute. What a cute little notebook from Rough House Print Shop. Oh, it's like sketchbook paper. So no lines. I will continue. Probably try to finish this one mitt, try it on, see how I like it. See if I want to undo any of this to make it shorter. Just depends on how I like the fit. I will say that while I've enjoyed this book a lot, and in general, I've enjoyed these characters and seeing their character arcs and kind of what's happening in their lives, I'm not feeling superbly like connected or obsessed with any of these. I don't know. It seemed like a lot of people were rating this a 5-star. There are not a lot of ratings on Storygraph. I don't know. I'm feeling like this is like a solid read that I would recommend, but I'm not sure if there's any like special sauce to it that's really making an impact on me. So we'll have to wait and see in these last like 100 or so pages how I like the end. But I will say I estimated there's like 360 pages. Storygraph says there are 378, so I was pretty dang close with my estimate. So I finished our book. I'm going to do an actual conclusion with my star rating and some more thoughts about the book as a whole after I've processed a little bit and decided kind of what my final feelings are. But I have finished not just one mitten, or mitt, I guess I should say, but I've also started the next one. So I'm getting really close to finishing this project, which is really nice to have something that is really quick and easy and mostly mindless, really intuitive. It's been a really good, I guess, set of projects, the bandana and the mitts, to work on right now at this stage of where my brain's at. For this week, at this time, this has been really good for me. So I'm really happy about this. And it feels good to be so close to finishing soon too. So I'm going to be working on the second mitt, probably listening to something else or maybe watching YouTube. It is nighttime. I'm preparing for another night shift. I have like 2 night shift weekends in a row. This is my second one. So I'm staying up late. So this will be a good project to work on while I'm doing something else, YouTube, audiobook, etc. And hopefully I can get some really good progress done. Maybe if I need a break, I can weave in my ends on my mitt and my bandana because I haven't done that yet. I would love to finish the second mitt, weave in my ends, block all of these tonight so that they have time to dry overnight and tomorrow. And then maybe on Monday, I can finish out this video. Or Tuesday, because I work Monday night, don't I? Anyway, it'd be really great to finish these really soon and just kind of check this off the list as I've, done the audiobook really fast and the projects really fast, and it's felt really good to be productive in that way. So once I get a chance, I'll talk to you about my final thoughts on the book, but until then, I'll be working on this project. All right, so I have finished all of my pieces and blocked them and everything, and I am ready to kind of close out this video, talk about this box, and give you my final rating of The Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green. First of all, when I was setting up all these pieces for like what came in the box, I realized there were a lot of little goodies in this box, more so than any other box I've opened from Yarnacious, which is just so fun having all these little things. And because this book itself is bookish related, book club related, there were a lot of book related items. And I mean, of course, for like a book and yarn box, there should be bookish items and yarny items and some other stuff too. But I felt like this box in particular really leaned into the bookish goodies. I love opening Yarnacious's boxes because you know what the book is ahead of time, so you can prepare to get it from your library or secondhand so that it's a little bit more economical. And I love how the yarn is perfectly matched to a pattern that also comes in the box. So you don't have to think of what do I do with this yarn in the box. You already have a project that you can make. So that is really fun and definitely different from other book boxes that just have yarn in there and then you have to figure out what you want to do with it, which is fun in and of itself. But if you don't want to have to make the decision, I like how Yarnacious book boxes make the decision for you. They give you a pattern that is going to work really well with the yarn that is provided. I also feel like even though I've done these boxes quite a bit, that there's variety in the different types of items included in the box. There are different businesses that are supported. So even if maybe you're like, oh, I got tea 3 months ago in a box I opened, it's a different company, it's a different flavor. So there's still something new and fresh about what's coming in the box. So there's nothing that's consistent in every single box. Every one is a little bit unique, which is why I like to share them here on my YouTube channel and kind of showcase what's included in the box so you can get an idea on whether this type of book and yarn box is a good fit for you. And sometimes Maggie also has leftovers of these boxes available in stock on her website. Make sure to keep an eye out for other boxes that she comes out with if there's another book that you're interested in, because I definitely recommend these book boxes. So let's jump into what's included in this box specifically in no particular order. Just a quick rundown. This is a clip-on tea strainer, purple, love it. So that'll be fun to try out. I need to make some tea actually. It's finally cold enough where I feel like that would be really nice right before bed. And then there's this multi-black tea called The Library. It is from August Uncommon Tea Company. Tastes like buttered toast, brown bread, almond. Feels like morning in the library. I don't drink black tea, so I'll be brewing up a different type of tea to use with my tea strainer. And this will go to a friend that I know will really like it. These really cool wooden stitch markers. They have like a vintagey feel. There's some books, a calligraphy pen, a little like knapsack type of thing. Super cute, and I definitely put them to use while I was working on these projects. We got a little tiny like sketchbook. There's no lines on the pages, which is really nice. I actually prefer no lines. Gives it a little bit more flexibility. This is from Rough House Print Shop. And then this little pen says, I love books. We got like a reading tracker bookmark, as well as this cute sticker. I can't make it. I have book club. We got one of those like thumb things. I don't know, but you use it to hold open a book with your hand, and it just puts less pressure on your thumb and keeps those pages open wider as well. I don't know what this is actually called, but it looks like it's resin. I like the colors. They're really pretty together. This hand poured candle from Flypaper Products. This is the flavor, the smell, Book Club, cinnamon, leather, and amber. I already talked about how we got the pattern. It came in 4 different installments. So we got the beginning instructions, we got the left mitt, the right mitt, and the bandana. So we have all those. There's also a coupon code within these papers for getting the pattern digitally from Ravelry. So I've already downloaded it, so I can probably get rid of the papers themselves. I ordered the extra skein just because I couldn't decide between variegated and tonal, and I'm really glad I got this tonal. This is Sea Spray. It's like a sagey, minty, oceany green with a little bit of gray undertones. And then the other color, the variegated that I had in my box, was Back to the Library. And this is it worked up. Ta-da! My mitts are still a little bit damp, even though they've been laying out to block for over a day. Whoops, but my bandana is dry. Let's talk about these patterns that were included. I started off with the bandana as a way for me to make an item that didn't necessarily rely on gauge, so I could kind of check my gauge. And this was a really fast, easy make and became really intuitive just because the texture is just on this edge. You can see those cute little bobbles, but mostly it was stockinette done flat. The I-cord, I'm so glad that I have a Cordsmith so I could do it on the Cordsmith once I kind of practiced a little and got the hang of it. And then you just work off of the I-cord, you pick up stitches and then work on the actual shaping of the bandana. I will say that in the pattern instructions, some of the numbers weren't making sense in my brain for like how to center this bandana on the I-cord. And so I just followed my own heart with where to center it because I wanted the bandana to be centered. So I have more stitches unworked in the I-cord than the pattern originally called for, but I picked up the correct amount of stitches it called for as well. It's just that the counts of when to start picking up stitches didn't quite make sense to me. So that's what I did. I just literally centered it. So not a huge deal, easy fix for me, and it didn't really affect anything with the pattern. I don't know if that's a mistake in the pattern or if I just was not getting it. So that was really nice to knock out at the beginning. And then I cast it on my mitts, and I wish I had done them in tandem because my first mitt, beautiful, stunning. Look at my tension. It's gorgeous. It looks so lovely. This is my right mitt, I had to see. And it's got that cool bobble detail along the edge as well. I really think this yarn worked up beautifully. Could also be for a more masculine color palette too. Like this isn't necessarily my colors that I wear a lot, but I could see like maybe my brother wearing this. So maybe I will gift these to him eventually. But I think it turned out really good. And then I cast it on my second mitt immediately after, and I had so many tension issues. I had to reknit the whole thing because it was too loose all the way across, like in all the ways. And I just knew it would bug me. So I reknit it, and then I was trying so hard to knit it smaller. Like I was just so mindful of it that I ended up making the cuff too small. And then once I got to maybe about here, I was like, oh, I need to like loosen up and relax a little bit. And so then I kind of pendulumed the other way. And because this mitt, I had already like rinsed it, I'd already soaked it and put it in the dryer as an attempt to maybe try and felt it. I didn't know how it would work out because this is superwash yarn. It didn't work out at all. So because I'd already like technically blocked that mitt, unraveled the yarn, and then tried working with it again, it was a little bit noodly and it didn't quite block out all the way in my stitches. They look a little bit uneven still. And because I was trying not to make my stitches too tight like I did on the cuff, this top part is definitely a looser gauge. I was not gonna knit this a third time And this was closer than the first time I knit that mitt. But it fits better, it has a better feel to it, and they are more closely matched. And so I'm just gonna let it be. We'll see if my brother would want these. I feel like they're kind of his color palette. So I'll check and see if this is something he thinks he would wear. But I'm gonna let these continue to dry. I was just so ready to be done with this project because I didn't want to like knit a whole mitt for a third time because I was having tension issues. I just had a really hard time matching my tension from the first mitt. I don't know what happened the second time. I just was too loosey-goosey. The third time, I just could not get it to match. So I knit the adult medium size, and I will show you the yarn I have left over from knitting the bandana in the adult medium. I only have this much. It's so tiny. It's such a cute little scrap. I would say this is maybe like 4 grams. If I had to guess. I will say again with the mitts, I had some issues mostly with which mitt was it? I think I did the right mitt first. Yes, I started with the right mitt and then I knit the left mitt and the numbers were a little bit off for the left mitt. And so I kind of reverse engineered to make sure that specifically my thumb gussets were in the same exact spot mirrored from each other. And so that just required a little bit of like extra math to make sure that the placement was correct. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. It really wasn't hard to do that. There were just a couple like small issues with the stitch counts, if that makes sense. From looking at the pattern, I think that would affect every size for the left mitt. So just keep an eye on that if you care about having your mitts be mirrored and symmetrical in that way. And then finally, the book. So for the Blackout Book Club by Amy Lynn Green, I ended up rating this a 3.75 star. So pretty good. I did enjoy this book, though it wasn't the perfect book for me. I would classify this as like a cozy historical fiction set in World War II, late World War II, when America has finally committed to being involved in the war. It's set in a small coastal town in Maine. I love Maine. My ancestry, like my grandparents and my ancestors prior to them, lived out that way in New England. And so I remember going out to Maine like multiple times a year growing up. And so Maine just has my heart in a special way. So it was really cool to read about this area. I really liked each of these characters, was very distinct, had a very specific role in the dynamic of this friend group. And you could really see them learning and growing and coming together as they, I guess, learned more about how each of them had value and how even from all their different backgrounds, they had things in common that they could appreciate and enjoy about each other. So I really liked those distinct character arcs that these characters all had. I will say this book was a little bit predictable in where the character arcs were going. Hence why this felt really cozy. Another thing that contributed to this like cozy feeling, which I don't know if I've read like a cozy World War II historical fiction, because usually they're very dark and dreary with maybe a glimmer of hope in them. This felt different. And one other reason it felt more cozy was because anytime there was some tension building up, a secret that was getting introduced, it just didn't have enough time to really grow and flourish in the story and really add to the atmosphere. Like, for example, maybe like 2/3 or like 3/4 of the way through the book, someone loses their job. And how that happens is they were disobeying a direct order from their boss, and they stepped away from their station for a few minutes. When they came back, their boss was waiting for them. And as the reader, you're like, oh no, like you have this sense of dread, like the boss is there and they were caught red-handed, like you doing the thing they weren't supposed to do. And now they have to face their boss, and you expect there's this tension. And then all of a sudden the chapter ends. And in the next chapter, you are in a different perspective. It's a couple weeks later, and you just get the response that, oh yeah, so-and-so was fired from their job a couple weeks ago and now they're living with a different character. Like, it was just really anticlimactic. Like, the tension didn't have a chance to build up and really hit me in the heart. And so I felt like I didn't connect emotionally with these characters a ton. I felt like I was superficially looking in on their lives because I didn't have that emotional draw and tension in the story. And I feel like in general, like you got some ups and downs from all these characters, but you didn't really get to see or feel the nitty gritty of the hardships they were facing. And I think part of that is because this was not in Europe and this was not in a war setting. But since all of this story was set in small town Maine in 1944, 1945 type of era, you didn't get the stresses of war quite as much. So any bigger blows, just the way that the author handled them, toned them down a lot. So yeah, I would say this is definitely cozy and not super heartbreaking like other World War II historical fictions are. So if that's something you're looking for, this does something different than any other World War II historical fiction I've ever read. So I would definitely recommend this book. I feel like even though it wasn't a favorite of mine, that this is one that I still really enjoyed. It was a quicker read, it was heartwarming, and it was really cool to see these people come together and go through their own separate story arcs. It is definitely a character-driven story rather than a plot-driven story. And there is some hard times, but the entire book is filled with a sense of hope for the future and what's coming next and improvement and, just being hopeful that whatever they're doing in the moment to get through this wartime is going to benefit them in the long run. Definitely a different feel and a different type of story than I was expecting, but it was a really nice read. Thank you so much for watching this video as I opened this book box and shared my experience reading the book, opening the package, and working on the projects with you. If you like this type of content and want to see more from me, whether it's yarn or book podcasts, vlogs, and everything in between, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification down below to be notified every time I post a new video. Let me know if you have read this book or anything else by Amy Lynn Green, and if there's something specifically that you would recommend for me to read, because I'm always looking for new recommendations. And let me know if you've tried a book box from Yarnaceous Fibers or from another yarn dyer that you would really love to share with me. And until next time, happy making and happy reading. Bye!